If you've got an ISO 13485 audit coming up, or if you're spotting cracks in your quality process, you're in the right place. Getting certified is easy. Staying compliant isn't. We've helped hundreds of manufacturers choose QMS systems, and the same problem pops up every time. So let's talk through the 5 things that tend to blow up during audits, how to handle them manually today, and how a QMS can smooth all that out. All right, so ISO 13485 has 8 clauses. We're not going to cover all of them. Instead, let's focus on the 5 areas that cause the most audit findings. Let's start with where most teams stumble first: document control. Sounds simple, just keep procedures current and accessible, right? But here's what usually happens. Someone updates an SOP, saves it as, quote, SOP final v3, emails it around. 6 months later, an auditor asks, who approved this? When was the old version removed? And that's when you're in trouble. Look, you can stay compliant manually. You'll need a master document list, revision tracking, a locked obsolete folder, and type permissions. But that level of control is hard to maintain. One person saves to the wrong folder, and you've got 2 versions floating around. And if you're hearing this and thinking, yeah, that's kind of sounds like our setup, we can help. At Software Connect, we work with medical device teams to find the right QMS system. Just head over to softwareconnect.com to get started. It's free. And if you're curious what that actually looks like in practice, this is where I'd recommend platforms like Unifies. You'll see search procedures living in its own thread, so when someone needs to review or approve a change, it's right there. Updates get logged automatically, and signatures are timestamped. Plus, older versions are marked, quote, obsolete, so that nobody can accidentally use them. And when documents start drifting out of sync, the next issue usually shows up in training. Auditors don't just want proof that training happened, they want proof that every employee was trained on the correct version of each procedure. You'll need a training matrix with dated signatures for each session, plus a copy of the exact SOP revisions that they were trained on. It's doable until you update your procedure. Now you're retraining everyone on tracking who's current on which version. Miss one person, and that's a finding. We see this consistently with growing manufacturers, around 15 to 20 employees. Training tracking goes from manageable to totally overwhelming nearly overnight. And honestly, this is where the manual approach falls apart. In something like E2Q Reliance, when work instructions get updated, there's a training flag right inside the document. Click yes, link it to the course profile, and the software auto-assigns retraining to everyone who needs it. On that note, if your processes are already feeling stretched thin, it's probably showing up in your design work too. Because Clause 7.3, Design Controls, is where disorganization really starts costing you time and credibility. Here, the auditor wants to see a clear line from design inputs to design outputs, verification and validation, with every change reviewed, approved, and documented. That means keeping folders for each phase with signed and dated approvals. Works fine for one product line, but with multiple devices, you're piecing together design data from emails, PowerPoints, someone's laptop. The auditor asks your DHF, and you're scrambling to pull it together from 5 different places. But in a platform like Qt9 QMS, everything lives in one system. You can build DHF templates, organize custom phases that match how you actually operate, and tailor each plan to show what matters: verification, risk assessments, sign-offs. And because DHRs, DHFs, and DMRs are all connected, you've got a complete traceable record from design through production. But if something slips into production, Clause 8.5, specifically corrective action, is where it surfaces. Here's the scenario. An auditor finds a non-conformance from 2 years ago and says, show me your root cause analysis and how you verified the fix actually worked. If your corrective action log lives in an Excel file, you're in trouble. Because there's no workflow enforcing anything. You need a form with mandatory fields: problem description, root cause, corrective action, owner, due date, and, this is critical, an effectiveness check with evidence. A platform like SmartSolve basically becomes your forcing function here. You'll see a structured workflow on screen. Root cause analysis, proposed action plans, all tracked in a task status view. It guides you through each step and maintains a complete audit trail. So you've got what auditors need without reconstructing it from memory. But even with solid CAPA documentation, there's one question that still trips up most teams. If a problem arises, can you actually trace it back? And traceability is really the moment of truth for a lot of teams. This is where I see the most anxiety in our needs analysis calls. Manufacturers know that their spreadsheet system is fragile, and they're nervous about what an audit might uncover. You'll need to prove, at any point, where every component came from, how it was used, and where each product ended up. So if there's a complaint or a recall, the auditor's first question is always the same. Which customer received those units, and how did you verify containment? Manually, that means managing a web of spreadsheets, linking every raw material to each production batch and finished device. You'll need separate tabs for incoming materials, in-process assemblies, and shipments, all tied to a batch or serial number. It can work at a small scale, but one broken formula and you've lost your traceability trail. This is where an integrated ERP and QMS really matters, and why I like QT9's approach. In the ERP, every part gets a lot number the moment it hits the inventory. The number follows it through production, linking to customer orders, material used, and production dates. That's full forward and backward traceability. And the QMS pulls in the version-controlled specs and SOPs that govern that specific batch. So all in one interface, you've got traceability data and the exact process documentation that was in effect when those devices were made. When an auditor asks for proof of containment, you're showing them the complete paper trail. You can see where this would get a lot more complicated with spreadsheets. Notice a pattern here? Every single one of these failures come down to the same thing: version control chaos, missing audit trails, and no way to prove who did what when. So can a manual system work? Yes. Will it scale past 20 to 30 employees or multiple product lines? This is where it gets really hard. And here's the thing. Every one of these workarounds I just described, it's basically rebuilding what QMS software does automatically. Bottom line, ISO 13485 doesn't require software, but at a certain scale, compliance becomes pretty much impossible without it. Look, I know this is a lot. If you want to dig deeper into systems like QT9, Master Control, or Greenlight Guru, we've got a full roundup on softwareconnect.com. Or honestly, just comment with your team size and biggest headache, and we'll tell you what to look at first. And if you want to dig deeper into quality management software, be sure to check out our video on the top 4 QMS software. Thanks for watching.